Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to 3302. This is where I take a look at the news and happenings in and around Elite Dangerous. The big news is that last week the beta for Elite Dangerous Horizons, the Engineers, was released. I've got a bunch of videos on that we'll talk about briefly. There's a great big RNG debate in the community. Frontier have a live stream later this week, and also there's some nice new paint jobs on the store. We'll have a look at them. The Engineers update was released last week then, highly anticipated and for the most part very well received. There is an element of controversy surrounding what's been classed as a grind and a bit too much RNG perhaps, and I'll get to that in a little while, but for now let's have a look at some of the new changes that have gone in under the hood and as well on the surface of the game. All in all, the Engineers brings a dramatic change to the world of Elite Dangerous. Some of this comes from the somewhat smaller changes which have brought a lot of life to the game, such as the increase in NPC traffic both in space as well as down on the surface of planets, and other things of course like the introduction of comms chatter or of traffic control chatter. And of course there's the all-encompassing NPC portraits on the mission board, again giving a face to the game that it before didn't have. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail right here in this video about all the changes because I've been uploading a number of videos covering a lot of that elsewhere, and we can briefly have a look at them. There's been a load of graphical improvements all over the game, from asteroid ring systems to planetary surfaces to the interior of stations. There's also been some apparent changes, as far as I could tell, on the cockpits as well as the materials used to render the ships. Overall, this has been a dramatic improvement to the game in terms of visuals, and you can see that in the first video for the Engineers that are uploaded. I'll link all of these videos in the video description below, and as I talk about them you can see short previews on the screen here. There's been a rather nifty looting system introduced into the game. Now, loot can appear in a multitude of different places. It's dropped from NPCs, but not only is it dropped from them, you can actually scan them and get data packages. Scan an NPC in flight and you may receive information on its thrusters. Scan an NPC that's in combat, however, and you could get information on its shields. In fact, no matter where you are in the game, there's something that you can loot or something that you can scan, and all of this is usable towards crafting module and weapon upgrades with the Engineers. I've done a short video on the looting system. Again, you can see that in the video description below and you're looking at it here. The other three big changes that you can look at are the mission systems, the Engineers bases. I've reviewed two of them. I've done a flyover of two locations. There's a few more in the game of course, and I've also had a look at meeting an engineer. More of this of course is to come later. It's all very brief at the moment. You may be aware that I've had a bit of computer problem to say the least, but it looks like that will all be resolved very soon and I should be back on track with making plenty of videos. Like I say, I don't want to talk too much about all the changes introduced into the Engineers in this particular video because I've talked about them many times before, and I've also done other videos covering that. But here, just an overview so that you know roughly what's going on. Now, elsewhere in the community, there's a big RNG debate. Now, what is RNG? RNG is Random Number Generator, and it's a system that computer games use in order to provide results or loot or anything like that. For example, in some games, RNG is used to determine the amount of damage you deal to an enemy. In other games, it's used to determine what loot you receive from a treasure chest or a killed NPC. Basically, it's a roll of a dice. Now, RNG is being heavily used within the Engineers update by the Engineers themselves to determine the output of the modules and weapons they're able to craft for you. And in addition to that, of course, all the special effects that can be applied to weapons are also completely random. You can't predetermine what effect, if any, you may actually receive. Now, for a part of the community, this system has gone over very well, as it basically prevents people from using the exact same setup and puts a bit of indetermination on what sort of modules everyone may be able to use. So basically, there shouldn't be any two ships that are identical out there, and for many that is seen as quite a good thing. For others, however, it poses significant problems, because without the ability to determine what sort of modules or weapons you may get out of a particular recipe, well, you don't know what you're going to get. So there's a lot of work that can be put into collecting all these resources just to have them wasted at the very last minute. In some cases, it takes hours upon hours to collect the necessary materials. So quite naturally, these two opinions are in opposition with each other, and there's quite a bit of different ground in between those two opinions. And this has sparked quite a lot of threads, both on Reddit and the forums, as well as it's been discussed all over YouTube. Now, it's something I want to talk about in greater detail later on, but in the meantime, I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on it. Do let me know in the comments section. On Tuesday the 10th of May, that's tomorrow, Frontier have another live stream. This one is for an engineer's tutorial done by the devs themselves. It starts at 7 PM BST, so if you're interested in having a look at that, do go and check it out. There may be quite a few things we can learn. After all, the engineer's system doesn't seem to be all that intuitive, and it's taken a fair bit of digging around for us to figure it all out. In fact, me and Cornelius Bridus spent a good couple of hours over the weekend on a live stream trying to figure out exactly where we needed to collect certain materials from for just a simple FSD upgrade. And although once you know where to look it can all be relatively simple, although perhaps a bit time consuming, it's still not all that intuitive for new players, so this tutorial from Frontier, this live stream, should be quite a handy thing indeed. And finally, toward the end of last week, Frontier released a whole bunch of new paint jobs for various ships. If you're into that sort of thing, they're certainly well worth checking out. So that brings us to the end of this fairly short video today. Once I'm up and running with the new system, I'll be back with a whole bunch of new videos for the engineers. But for now, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.